It is Thursday, April 15th here in Draft Shark Studios in Rochester, New York. Welcome to the 30th Quick Hit podcast in our Dynasty Prospect Scouting Report series. I'm your host, Matt Schauf. With me, as always, is Jared Smola. You can now find 36 Dynasty Rookie Scouting Reports on DraftSharks.com. Every single one of those is free to read. They will keep coming right up until the NFL Draft. You can check out every one of these accompanying podcasts by subscribing to the Draft Sharks YouTube channel or any of our podcast feeds. Our focus today is on North Carolina wideout Dyami Brown. Jared, please tell me a little bit about the Tar Heel.
Yeah, Brown was a four-star recruit, a top 35 wide receiver in the 2018 class coming out of high school in Charlotte. Chose the Tar Heels over other big school offers. Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida, Oklahoma all offered Brown a scholarship, but he stayed close to home with the Tar Heels. Played in 10 of 11 games, made 6 starts as a true freshman. Didn't post big numbers, though. 17 catches, 173 yards, and a score. Broke out in 2019 as a sophomore. 51 catches, 1,034 yards, 12 touchdowns. He was second on that Tar Heels team to fellow 2021 wide receiver prospect Daz Newsome in catches, but Brown led that team in receiving yards and touchdowns. He accounted for 19% of UNC's catches, 28% of the receiving yards, 31% of the touchdowns, averaged 20.3 yards per catch that season. That was fourth best in the country among all guys with at least 40 catches. Improved his catches and receiving yards this past season. Despite playing in just 11 games, he opted out of UNC's bowl game last year to start prepping for the NFL draft, but caught 55 balls for 1,099 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. Led UNC in all major receiving categories, beat Daz Newsome across the board there. The market shares last season, 24% of UNC's catches, 33% of the yards, 29% of the touchdowns. Another big yards per catch average for Brown. It was 20.0 this past year. That actually led the country among players with 40-plus catches. He was named first team All-ACC. He was a third-team All-American, and he was a semifinalist for the Blitnikoff Award, which goes to the nation's top wide receiver.
Daz and Dyami is a pretty fun name for your starting wide receiver duo. And his little brother, Khafre, is coming along, too. He actually beat Dyami Brown in yards per catch last year, 22.5 yards per catch for Khafre. Dyami Brown was also a sprinter in high school, ran the 100, 200, 400. His mom was a D3 track star in college. He was classified as an athlete as well coming out of high school, played multiple positions, including quarterback. For his UNC career, Dyami Brown tied Hakeem Nicks for second most touchdown catches in school history, despite catching 58 fewer passes in his career than Hakeem Nicks did. 7th most receiving yards in school history, just the 16th most receptions. So a very efficient producer of both yardage and touchdowns during his time as a Tar Heel. Jared, let's get now to how Dyami Brown racked up all those yards and TDs, and tell me about what you saw on his tape.
Yeah, almost kind of tough to say how he did it. Like nothing to me stood out as like an elite trait for Dyami Brown. He's not particularly big. He's 6'1", 189. He's fast, but he doesn't have elite speed. I don't think it looked like elite speed on tape. He ran a 4.45 at his pro day. So, good speed, but not like a true burner. Don't think he's like a high level route runner. Doesn't dominate in contested situations. But man, he just found ways to make big plays for UNC over the past 2 seasons. I mean, I think it's just like a well-rounded deep ball game. He has enough acceleration. He has enough speed. I know a lot of film guys have pointed out that he's good on double moves. I only saw like one of those in the 5 games I watched, but again, it's only 5 games. So I'm going to take, the guys who do this for a living, watch college guys for a living, take their word for it that, he is good on double moves. I also thought, I think his best attribute to me was his ball tracking ability. Like if the ball's thrown in his vicinity, he's generally going to come down with it. So, really good on deep balls. PFF gave him a 94.4 receiving grade on targets of 20-plus yards last season. So, that's an elite grade on deep balls. Isn't nearly as effective on the short and intermediate stuff. He got an 86.9% PFF grade on targets 10 to 19 yards downfield, just 67.1 on targets, within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. His route running on that type of stuff definitely needs polish. I saw enough flashes, though, to make me think that, he has potential to develop into more of a complete wide receiver. And sort of the same deal with after the catch stuff. Like, he didn't dominate there at UNC, but I think you see flashes. He has the athleticism to, I think, become someone who can be a weapon with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, the testing, I think, athletically backs that up. He tested explosively for vertical and broad jump. And the 3-cone time, 6.87 seconds, 65th percentile at the position. So I think that there's the ability for him to improve in those areas. You mentioned the double move stuff. Dane Brugler of The Athletic calls him, quote, a double move aficionado. Second nationally in deep yards, according to PFF, for Dyami Brown. Tied for 5th in deep catches, 7th in average depth of target. So, you watch it on the tape. If you're watching the highlights while we talk about this, he gets downfield a lot, as you probably guessed from a guy who averaged 20-plus yards per catch over the past 2 seasons. The drops maybe could get him into a little trouble in the NFL. Not a huge concern for me right now. He probably needs to get stronger. I would imagine that that's the case with just about anybody coming out of college into the pros. So I think ultimately draft capital, what the team spends on him, is going to tell us a lot about just how high Dyami Brown's NFL team believes his ceiling to be. And, maybe what the other teams around them believe about him too. If he's a second rounder, it says that they like the ceiling. If he sneaks into the first round, it says that they like it even more. If he lasts until round 3, maybe we ease our expectations a little bit.
Yeah, I think anywhere on day 2 would be, good for Dyami Brown. Even a 3rd round pick, I think, would be okay. So talking fantasy upside, even NFL upside, I don't see him as a number 1 wide receiver for an NFL team. I don't think he's ever going to be like a volume hog, someone who sees, 130, 140 targets in a season. But I do think that downfield game should translate. Again, he has enough size, enough speed, and just enough, craftiness downfield. I think he's going to be a big play guy at the next level. And again, he's only 21 years old. You mentioned the athletic test, and he earned an 84th percentile relative athletic score. So he's in a well above average athlete. So I think there's room for him to grow in those other assets to become more well-rounded, to become a weapon after the catch. So definitely someone with upside. So, maybe not be like a fantasy wide receiver 1, but I think definitely wide receiver 2 is within his range of outcomes.
Yeah, and that's well above average athleticism at a very athletic position. So we love air yards. We love deeper average depth of target from our receivers in fantasy these days. The deeper downfield your targets and catches are coming, the more efficient they are in racking up fantasy points. So, I'm not drooling over Dyami Brown, but I definitely like that aspect of his game. I have down, just like you said, I'm not sure he has target hog upside, but I like the production upside as an early 2nd round rookie pick. I like his chances of immediate fantasy returns in the right situation. I think maybe the ideal landing spot for Dyami Brown in the draft could be the Chargers at number 47 overall, which would be in the middle of the 2nd round. He could get there with Justin Herbert's big arm. Mike Williams is still there, but he's heading into the final year of his contract. Then, especially if Mike Williams left, you'd have Dyami Brown as a primary complement to Keenan Allen as that target hog. He could be an immediate upgrade over Tyron Johnson and Jalen Guyton. So, if we get a round 2 Dyami Brown to the Chargers, I might start getting excited, Jared.
Yeah, I love that fit. You want him with, in a vertical passing game with a big arm quarterback, because that's where he's going to be best, is downfield. I sort of comped him to I think like John Brown is like his optimistic comp, and maybe like Nelson Aguilar type is like his lower end of outcome ranges for Dyami.
Or maybe Darnell Mooney last season is his lower end.
Yeah, maybe. I think he's got a little better size than Mooney, but yeah, similar player.
Head over to DraftSharks.com now. You can read Jared's full scouting report on Dyami Brown. While you're there, check out the 35 other prospect scouting reports we have also posted. Check back for more right up until the NFL draft. We're going to keep them coming. As I've mentioned, all of those are free to read, but you should lock in your DS Insider access. That way you can see where these guys land in our dynasty rankings, where they land in our rookie rankings when those come out, both before and after the NFL draft. 2021 projections are on the site. They will continue changing as we get all these guys onto teams and can project their numbers into the NFL. The draft board's ready to help you right now. So head over to DraftSharks.com, use that, get in some more best ball leagues, get some of these rookies before they have NFL landing spots, and start climbing up the draft boards. You can also find us on Twitter. We are at DraftSharks. Jared is at SmolaDS. I am at SchaufDS. It's SCHAUF. For Jared Smola and the rest of the Draft Sharks crew, I'm Matt Schauf saying thanks so much for swimming with us.